The movie opens with Charles Blakey, an African-American man drowning in debt, drinking and playing cards with friends Ricky and Clarence. The bank threatens to seize his house unless he pays his loan. His friends urge him to work. Ricky offers construction help, but Charles brushes it off with a maybe. Clarence calls him ungrateful and princely, sparking an insult-fueled fight that Ricky breaks up. Clarence storms off, wishing the bank takes the house. The next morning, stranger Anniston Bennet visits, asking to rent the basement. Charles refuses at first, but Anniston leaves his card. Desperate, Charles finds he's out of groceries, his car low on gas, and gets rejected at Ricky's construction site and by a relative at the bank, who says seizure is inevitable. His aunt refuses aid, furious over the 8-generation family home and his freeloading. With no options, Charles voicemails Anniston. In the backyard cemetery for his ancestors, he finds a dead dog in the basement. He calls Ricky to clear it. Ricky spots valuable antiques and connects him to dealer Narcissus for a 10% cut. Narcissus appraises centuries-old items, including West African masks from his ancestors, valuing everything but the masks at $40,000 to $100,000. She'll return for photos, but insists he keep the masks close. Distracted by upstairs noises, Charles agrees. Anniston calls. He'll rent for 65 days for $65,000, $10,000 deposit, $25,000 on move-in, rest at end, but swears secrecy. Thrilled, Charles receives a delivery of Anniston's goods in cash. He pays off the bank, humiliating a banker, refuels his car, and stocks groceries. Days later, Charles picks up Anniston at the train station. In the basement, Anniston shares expensive whiskey, explaining his reclamation business, finding treasures like diamonds under properties, acquiring them, and earning commissions. He hands over the agreed $25,000, and Charles leaves him alone upstairs. The next morning, Charles brings coffee and finds Anniston locked in a self-built cage with a toilet. The old man wants isolation for reading and writing, asking Charles for daily meals. Charles refuses the odd setup, but Anniston offers 2 weeks' trial. Leave then, or double the final payment if he stays. Charles agrees reluctantly. Anniston gives him the cage key. To hide the bizarre arrangement, Charles locks the basement doors and covers windows. That evening, he delivers food and a flexible faucet for dishes. At the library, Charles searches online for Anniston, but finds nothing. Back home, they share philosophical talks. Charles asks if he's been to Africa. Showing the masks, Anniston scrapes off paint with a pocket knife, revealing gold beneath, stunning Charles. Charles visits Narcissus, showing the gold-plated mask. He suggests partnering to appraise antiques for other families on commission, but she refuses, scorning commodifying heritage. That evening, Charles arrives late. Anniston rages over the missed meal. Charles demands answers. Is he hiding as a criminal? Anniston admits it, but claims no one's chasing him, refuses details, and reminds him about meals. Later, freshening up, Charles sees his skin peel, revealing gold beneath, but it normalizes, dismissed as a hallucination. Next evening, drinking with friends, Charles apologizes to Clarence. Driving home, he closes his eyes, hands off the wheel, seemingly suicidal. Suddenly, he rushes out, overwhelmed with guilt upon seeing the lifeless animal. Charles tells Anniston the 2-week trial ends soon. He must leave. Desperate, Anniston reveals his past. First job as Tehran's accountant, ordered to kill a black man in a cell to prove loyalty. Seeking redemption, he chose Charles. Horrified, Charles demands he go, but Anniston recounts Charles' life. High school football star, average college, caring for dying father, mother, then cruel Uncle Brent. Bank job theft of $433, firing, $68,000 mortgage. Twist, Anniston inflated the house price and pushed foreclosure. Enraged, Charles declares Anniston his prisoner, warden now. He cuts lights and storms upstairs. Next morning, he sets rules. Food, water, books, lights as privileges earned via honest answers. Anniston's right. Request release, granted after 96 hours. Anniston adds, after every 3 answers, he asks one, answered honestly. Q&A begins. Anniston, U.S. citizen, born here. Charles, ever murdered? Anniston, no, just followed government orders shooting that man. His turn. Charles says no. The next day, Charles spits in coffee, resumes. Charles, money source. Properties reclaimed for clients, individuals, corporations, governments, sometimes illegal. Why this house? Charles, perfect. Lonely black man in debt with a big basement. Your perfect failure of your race. Furious, Charles cuts lights, returns in 4 days. That evening, Narcissus proposes an African-American museum displaying his relics and her antiques for income without selling heirlooms. Charles agrees, they joke about mask names, kiss, but basement noises interrupt. Charles blames a fox and rudely sends her away. Days later, Charles visits Anniston, thanks him. Darkness brought ghosts of his victims, like feeding a 9-month-old baby to a dog on orders, but he claims he saved thousands otherwise. Shaken, Charles cuts lights, despite pleas. At his friend's party, Charles spots Narcissus, drinks heavily, hallucinates a dog, flees. Home, sensing presence, he grabs a shovel. TV shows montage of black suffering history. Hands bloody, a dog devours a deer he hit. Terrified, he hides under bed as hallucinated Uncle Brent approaches to beat him, recalling childhood trauma. He flees house, flashbacks to teen years, falls into sea, seeing his mother. Charles returns, sees dying uncle begging help in a room, mother's hand on shoulder, breaks down. Disturbed, he visits filthy Anniston, who threatens murder. Charles warns mutual death, demands true identity, or darkness returns. Real name, Tamal Kenosis, never knew parents. Anniston's birth certificate lists Greek unmarried mother Maria Kenosis, father Tamal, Turkish. He removes a blue contact lens, explaining he reinvented himself, taking surname Bennet from a powerful British family. Charles mocks, fatherless? He could be Arab, Indian, African. Anniston snaps, white as the sun. Charles calms, bathes Anniston, feeds him, restores light and a book. He confesses killing Uncle Brent by neglect, ignoring calls, turned screams, waiting for death after lifelong hatred and isolation. Stunned, Anniston sees Charles' deep guilt. The next morning, Charles vacates Uncle Brent's room, spots a girl in dog mask outside, who glances and leaves. In the basement, Anniston lies dead. A letter explaining he sought answers in books, found them in darkness. Charles buries him in Family Yard Cemetery, burns letters to associates and family, ignores mourning. Anniston left a red pill for painless death, but Charles chooses life. With Narcissus, he turns house into museum, displaying relics. Film ends, Charles in the basement cage, reading, on a redemption path.